Okay, good morning all. Welcome to Laksha Academy YouTube channel. Okay, today's topic is oxygen dissociation curve. Okay, this is the part 11 of breathing and exchange of gases. Okay, here we are going to talk about oxygen dissociation curve. Oxygen dissociation curve is also called oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve or oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve. Here we can use three words. One is dissociation curve. The other one is oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve or oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve. Okay, these three words means the meaning is the same. Okay, what does this curve explain? Okay, this curve explains the relation between percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen and partial pressure of oxygen. Okay, what do you mean by percentage saturation? For example, each hemoglobin molecule can carry maximum of, can you tell me how many oxygen molecules can it carry? It can carry a maximum of four oxygen molecules. Maximum carrying capacity is 4 oxygen molecules. If one hemoglobin molecule is bound with 4 oxygen molecules, that means it is completely saturated. For example, every day you are eating two idli. Actually, you are capable of eating 4 idli. Okay, that means your maximum saturation point for eating idli is 4. Okay, if you with the 2 oxygen molecule, that means it is not completely saturated. It is able to carry 4. You are able to eat 4 idli, but you have eaten only 2. That means you haven't reached the saturation point yet. If hemoglobin is it is capable of carrying 4 oxygen molecule. If it is bound with 4 oxygen molecule, that means hemoglobin is completely saturated with oxygen. Okay, here on the y-axis we take percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen, and on the y-axis, on the x-axis, we take partial pressure of oxygen. What is meant by partial pressure? I explained that term in the previous part. The pressure contributed by each gas in a mixture of gases is called partial pressure. The partial pressure of oxygen is denoted as PO2. The partial pressure of carbon dioxide is denoted as PCO2. The partial pressure of nitrogen is denoted as PN2. Is it clear? What is partial pressure? The pressure contributed by each gas in a mixture of gases is called partial pressure. Partial pressure of oxygen is PO2, partial pressure of carbon dioxide is PCO2, partial pressure of nitrogen is PN2. Okay, here it explains the relation between percentage saturation of hemoglobin and partial pressure of oxygen. Okay, the relation between these two is explained by this curve explains the relation between those two. A sigmoid curve. Okay, when a sigmoid curve is obtained when the percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen is plotted against partial pressure of oxygen. Okay, when you draw a graph between these two, okay, on x-axis, y-axis, what are you taking? Percentage saturation of hemoglobin. On x-axis, what you are taking? Partial pressure of oxygen. When you plot a graph between these two, the relation between these two, we obtain a sigmoid curve. Okay, sigma is one of the Greek alphabet letter, one of the letters in Greek alphabet. Okay, in the English alphabet, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, so on. In the Greek alphabet also, there are alpha, beta, gamma, theta, delta, like that. There are different letters. One of them is sigma. Okay, this graph, as it appears like sigma letter, it is called sigmoid curve, or we can say S-shaped curve. Okay, sigmoid curve is obtained when percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen, percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen is plotted against partial pressure of oxygen. This curve is called oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve, or oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve, or oxygen dissociation curve, and is highly useful in studying effects of factors such as PCO2, partial pressure of carbon dioxide, H plus ion concentration, and temperature on binding of O2 with hemoglobin. The binding of oxygen, the binding of oxygen with hemoglobin, the binding of oxygen with hemoglobin, these two bind, okay, they are bound together and they form HbO2. Okay, this binding depends on various factors. This curve is this curve is very useful in studying effects of what is the effect of PCO2 on its binding. Okay, on the binding of this one, there is a effect of, okay, PCO2, and there is impact of H plus ion concentration and also temperature. These all factors influence the binding of hemoglobin with oxygen. How these factors are affecting the binding between the hemoglobin and oxygen, okay, that is explained by this curve. Alveoli and tissues. In the alveoli at our lungs, okay, where there is a high PO2, partial pressure of oxygen at lungs. Okay, can you recall that? Okay, in the previous part you learned the partial pressure of oxygen at lungs is 104 mmHg, and low PCO2 is present at alveoli. What is the partial pressure of oxygen at lungs? It is 40 mmHg, and higher H plus concentration is present. High pH value, high H plus concentration means higher higher pH, high pH, and lower temperature. These factors are all are favorable for the formation of hemoglobin, formation of oxyhemoglobin. What is oxyhemoglobin? This is the formula of oxyhemoglobin. Formula is HbO2. Okay, why these two bound together here? Because these all are favorable conditions are here. What are the favorable conditions? Okay, here high PO2 is present, low PCO2 is present, H plus concentration, low temperature, all are low. Okay, but one is high. What is that? Okay, PO2. When these all are low, when PO2 is high, okay, hemoglobin, okay, it has a tendency of binding with oxygen. When those all are low, okay, then form oxyhemoglobin. Factors are very, very, very important in the recent mock test given by NTA. Also, they are giving these bits related to these factors. Whereas in the tissues where low PO2, low, quite opposite. Okay, here in the previous one high PO2, here low PO2, here low PCO2, here high PCO2. Their high low H plus, here high H plus concentration, and that means low pH. And here at the lungs lower temperature, here high temperature exists. Okay, in these conditions are favorable for the dissociation of oxygen from oxyhemoglobin. This is oxyhemoglobin. Now the oxygen separated from the hemoglobin. Okay, this happens at the tissues because conditions are not favorable. Okay, here there is a marriage. You can to understand easily. We can take a small analogy here. Here, the marriage between hemoglobin and oxygen and form oxyhemoglobin because conditions are favorable. And then there is a divorce between hemoglobin and oxygen because the conditions are not favorable here. Okay, what are those conditions? What are affecting these divorce? Okay, one is high CPC, high high temperature. Okay, in these conditions, these two cannot exist together. Right? They have taken divorce. Okay, in that way, you can understand easily. Okay, right. Next one is the Bohr effect. Okay, under these conditions, okay, when the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is high, H plus is high. Under these conditions, oxygen dissociation curve shifts away from. Okay, this is the normal curve. This black one represents, this is the normal curve. Here it is shifting away from, this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. It is shifting away from this axis, and it is shifting towards the x-axis. Here it is shifting towards the x-axis. That means towards the right side. Okay, this is called Bohr effect. Say again, what is Bohr effect? Under the what are the conditions? Okay, when there is a high PCO2, especially when there is a high PCO2, high H plus ion concentration. Okay, under these conditions, oxygen dissociation curve shifting away from x-axis. It is shifting away from. This is the, if it is move like this one, it is going towards the y, but it is going in this direction, shifting away from y and towards x. Okay, this is the original normal curve, but it has shifted. It has shifted. Okay, it has shifted away. Okay, it has shifted away from the y-axis towards the x-axis because the conditions here, how high PCO2, that means high CO2. There is a lower pH, that means high H plus, that means lower pH. There is high temperature is high test. Because of that, here there is a, okay, reduced HbO2 affinity, and there is a right shift. This is called Bohr effect. Under these conditions, oxygen dissociation curve shifts away from the y-axis to the right side. Okay, the effect of, very very important one, the effect of PCO2 and H plus ion concentration on the oxygen affinity of hemoglobin, is called Bohr effect. Is called Bohr effect. Okay, here increase of carbon dioxide in the blood and decrease in the pH. That means H plus high, pH low, results in reduction of affinity of hemoglobin. The love between hemoglobin and oxygen decreases when these two are high. What two are high? The affinity, attraction between these two decreases. Okay, between whom? Hemoglobin and oxygen, the attraction, the affinity between these two decreases when there is a high CO2 and high H plus ion concentration. This is called Bohr effect. Very very important. Okay, Bohr effect versus and Haldane effect. Okay, it is the effect by which presence of CO2, when there is a high CO2, and when the presence of high CO2 decreases the affinity, the love between hemoglobin and oxygen decreases. The affinity between these two decreases when CO2, there is another woman, when this woman is a high concentration. Okay, the affinity between these two, hemoglobin and oxygen, decreases. Okay, this Bohr effect, okay, occurs at tissues and systemic capillaries. Okay, it occurs at tissues and systemic capillary. In tissues, metabolism causes high. Okay, because of respiration takes place in the tissue, that's why PCO2 is high. That means 45 mmHg. Lungs it is 114, and PO2 is low because tissue cells utilize oxygen. Yet lungs PO2 is 94, 104. Okay, in the blood of pulmonary veins it is 95, but here at the tissues only 40 because tissues utilize that. With respect to arterial blood, arterial blood has okay low POCO2 and low high O2, but here the quite reverse conditions are present at the tissue. That's why the affinity between these two decrease, and this is called Bohr effect. Because of this effect, the oxyhemoglobin dissociation normal curve shifts towards right side, that means towards x-axis away from y-axis. Haldane effect, the opposite. It is the effect of generally Haldane effect occurs at lungs. Okay, at lungs, these two. Okay, at lungs, the marriage between hemoglobin and oxygen, and there is a divorce at the tissue. Because at the tissues, this is high. This is high. Okay, what is high? Carbon dioxide is high. When there is carbon dioxide is high, okay, the relation between these two decreases, hemoglobin and oxygen. Okay, this condition generally occurs at the tissue. Haldane effect takes place at the lungs, and Bohr effect at the tissues. What is Haldane effect? It is very simple. It is the effect by which combination of HO2 with hemoglobin displaces CO2 from hemoglobin. CO2 from hemoglobin. Okay, what does it? Okay, Hb plus CO2 is formed at the tissues. It is formed at the tissues. Okay, it is formed at the tissues. When HbCO2 comes to from the tissues to our lungs, in our lungs, oxygen is high. When oxygen is high, okay, these two cannot bind together. Okay, now there is a divorce. Hb plus CO2. Okay, they get separated, and now it binds. Okay, you can simply understand this one if I take one analogy. Hemoglobin here it has a two wives. Two wives. One wife is oxygen. The other wife is carbon dioxide. When PCO2 is high, where is PCO2 high generally? At our tissues, because respiration takes place. Okay, at that time there is a divorce between hemoglobin and oxygen, and hemoglobin binds with carbon dioxide because she is more, her love is more because she is more than the tissue. Next, come to lungs. Okay, when it comes to lungs, okay, who is high at our lungs? What do we take in our take? When we breathe air, all gas is centered, but what is more in our lungs? Oxygen. When oxygen is more, the affinity, the love between these two degrees, between whom? Hemoglobin and carbon dioxide. Hemoglobin is leaving whom? Carbon dioxide and taking oxygen. Okay, Haldane effect takes place at our lungs because hemoglobin here hemoglobin binds with oxygen here because there is more oxygen. Okay, at that time, okay, this curve shifting to observe here, Haldane effect. Okay, here the curve is shifting this side. What is this one? Left side. Left side. That means towards y-axis, away from the axis. Quite opposite. Okay, Bohr effect occurs at the tissue. Haldane effect at the lungs. Because of Bohr effect, it is shifting to the right side, or it is because of Haldane effect, it is shifting to the left. In the recent NTA mock test papers for these NEET student, they have given this bit. Okay, what causes the shifting of normal curve of normal oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve? What causes the shifting of this curve to the left side? You have to remember these four, very important. Here at our lungs, you can understand easily. Okay, higher concentration of higher oxygen is present at our lungs, low CO2 is present at our lungs, higher pH is present, that means low H plus ion concentration and lower temperature. That's why it is shifting towards the quite opposite condition. When these conditions are reversed, it is shifting towards right side. This is Bohr effect and this is Haldane effect. A rise in PCO2, rise in PCO2 generally at our lungs, at our tissue, sorry, and fall in pH means high H plus decreases when there is a high PCO2. PCO2, when high PCO2, when this woman is there, this wife is there, like, the love between the affinity of hemoglobin decreases with oxygen, the love between these two decreases, Hb and O2 decreases. On the other hand, when there is a fall in CO2 and rise in fall in CO2, PCO2 and rise in pH increases the affinity of hemoglobin with oxygen. This is the quite opposite. This clearly indicate oxygen gets bound to hemoglobin at tissues and gets dissociated at the tissues. Okay, in the lungs, okay, these two bind together. At the tissues, they two dissociate. This is oxygen dissociation curve. Okay, this is the this is the right shift, this is the left shift. Here, what is causing this right shift? This is the Bohr effect, and this is the Haldane effect. This is the Bohr effect. Here, concentrate carbon dioxide is more, higher temperature, higher pH low, higher H plus. These all are high, and DP. What is DPG? What is DPG? It is not given in our textbook, but it is important. You have to remember 2,3-diphosphoglycerate. It is also called a 2,3-BPG. Very, very important. 2,3-BPG. It is the other name. B means bi. D means di. Okay, DPG, 2,3-DPG. It is also called as 2,3-BPG. 2,3-biphosphoglycerate. What is this one? 2,3-biphosphoglycerate is a substance made in our RBC during anaerobic respiration. I told you in the first video. I told you in the first part. Okay, what I told you in our RBC, red blood cells, anaerobic respiration takes place. I told you difference between aerobic and during anaerobic respiration. Why? Mitochondria are absent in our RBC. Okay, that means glycolysis takes place. Okay, at that process, during that anaerobic respiration, during that process, what is formed? 2,3 but diphosphoglycerate is formed. It controls the movement of oxygen from red blood cells to the tissues. That means, okay, in our tissues, there will be more 2,3 diphosphoglycerate. At that time, our RBC, the affinity between hemoglobin and oxygen reduces, and our RBC give more oxygen to our tissue. That means 2,3-diphosphoglycerate also, okay, it decreases the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen. And last part, listen, oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve, a sigmoid curve. Partial pressure of oxygen, when the partial pressure of oxygen is 95 mmHg, generally it is at our lungs, hemoglobin HbO2 percentage saturation of hemoglobin is 97%, generally it occurs at our lungs. When partial pressure of oxygen is 97, that means around 100 at our lungs, okay, here the percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen, look at here, this is what I told you, this is the percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen. When the partial pressure of oxygen here is partial pressure of oxygen, what is this x-axis denote? Partial pressure of oxygen, PO2. When the PO2 is 100, the saturation of hemoglobin is what? 100. That means around 97%. All hemoglobin bound with 4 each. I told you, okay, each hemoglobin can molecule can bond with 4, completely saturated. At which conditions? Okay, when the partial pressure of oxygen is 9 mmHg, okay, around 900, hemoglobin percentage is okay 97, or we can say 100 as per NCRT. Okay, generally it happens at our lungs. But when you come to 40, when the partial pressure of, what is this one, partial pressure of oxygen, when the partial pressure of oxygen, generally partial pressure of oxygen is 40 at our, it is at our tissue, it is tissues. Okay, when this 100 is generally at our lung, what happens? Observe here. Now I am extending this one here. You can observe this is touching here. The person, this is 80, it is less than 80, the percentage saturation. Now here you can, okay, here the percentage saturation is decreased, it is 75, it is 75, it is 80, it is 75. Okay, it is when your body at rest, can in the tissues, it is the partial pressure of HbO2, partial pressure of oxygen, and this is the percentage saturation 75%. For example, if you do vigorous exercise, okay, when you do vigorous exercise, your tissues, muscle tissues use more oxygen. That's why here the partial pressure of oxygen in our tissues is now 20 mmHg. When the partial pressure of oxygen is 20 in our tissues, okay, now I am extending this one here. The percentage saturation has dropped here. You can observe here. The percentage saturation is around 35%. The percentage saturation is 35%. That means less than, okay, less than 45 here, around 35. That is the percentage saturation of hemoglobin. Okay, now what is the meaning of this lower curve, upper curve? This is the lower. You can see the three curves here. This is at lungs, Haldane effect. This is at the tissues, Bohr effect. This is the Haldane effect, and this is the normal state. Okay, these are the three curves here: right shift, left shift, and this is the normal curve. Okay, normal curve explains the normal state of our body, and middle curve. This is the middle curve here. Okay, middle curve, and next one normal pH. When the normal curve is there, okay, that means the normal pH is present in our blood, and PCO2 is normal, and PCO2 is PO2 is normal, PCO2 is normal, H plus and concentration is normal, temperature is normal. When these all are normal, okay, then the normal pH value of our blood, very important one. The normal pH value of blood is very, very important in our body. There is a buffer system to maintain, okay, pH value. That was also asked in the NEET mock test papers. Okay, the parts who maintains that, okay, there are some substances like bicarbonates and phosphates, okay, which maintain our blood buffer system. Okay, proper pH levels are maintained. Okay, next, why this lower curve comes? When do we get this lower curve? We get this lower curve, okay, it explains the factors at the tissues. Okay, here the partial pressure is, okay, here the, sorry, pH value is 7.2 here. When the pH value is 7.2, when the PO2 is low, PO2 is low here, PO2 is low. Okay, here you can see the oxygen affinity is more unloading takes place. That means here low O2 is present, low O2. Next one, PCO2 is high, H plus ion concentration is high, temperature high. When these all conditions are present, our oxyhemoglobin curve, okay, moves towards the x-axis away from the y-axis. This is the lower curve. When do we get this upper curve? This one, when do we get this upper curve? When do we get it? Okay, it explains the Haldane effect. moves towards the y-axis, towards the it is going towards the y-axis and away from the x-axis, and to means it is going to the left side. It explains the factors at alveoli phloem, and pH value is when it is a pH value is 7.6 and PO2 is high, PCO2 is low, H plus ion concentration is low, and temperature is low. We can observe this upper curve. Upper curve. Okay, that is the difference between upper curve and lower curve. You can see the same thing here. For PO2 is 100 mmHg. It is present in our lungs. Hemoglobin is saturated about 97%. I showed you that one here. Around here the percentage 97%. Okay, around 100. When the partial pressure of oxygen is 100. Okay, at the PC, when the PO2 of 40 mmHg, which is common in our tissues during the rest time, hemoglobin is about 75% saturated. I told you, I showed you that one here. It is 75 when the PO2 is 40. Generally, it is at 40 at the tissues. Okay, it means oxyhemoglobin gives away about 22% of oxygen only to the resting tissue. It also means only 1 by 5th of the oxygen from the blood is unloaded in the resting tissues. Look here, if you subtract this one, 97 at the lungs, hemoglobin is saturated up to 97%. Okay, it is unloaded only 22%. It is giving to the tissues. That means if you subtract, you get 5, and okay, here you get 75. That means our hemoglobin does not give total oxygen with it to our tissues. It is giving only some amount. For example, you have 10 lakhs money. Okay, you don't invest all money or in your business. You keep some money for your future needs. Otherwise, if any trouble happens in the business, okay, you will ruin. Okay, that's why we keep some money like that to when we run our family. We don't every month we do not expenditures. We should see that our expenditures should not cross our income. That means, for example, if you are getting 10,000 salary, okay, your expenditure, family expenditure is 5,000. That means you are saving 5,000 money. Our hemoglobin also, it has, for example, it has 4 oxygen molecules. It is giving only 1 oxygen molecule to the tissues, and remaining, that means 75%, it is keeping with it in reserve. Okay, it means about 22% of oxygen to the resting tissues. It means 1 by 5th of the oxygen from the blood, it is unloaded to the resting tissues. 1 by 5th only it is giving. That means here it has 100, it is only giving 25. Okay, around 20. That means 1 by 5th it is giving. Remaining 4 by 5. 4 by 5, the remaining 4 by 5 is in the form of reserve in the blood. Why hemoglobin is not giving, why it is not unloading entire oxygen to the tissues? Because, okay, when you do, if it unloads entire oxygen, when you do vigorous exercise, in some conditions, when your heart fails, in the when your breathing stops for a while, in those conditions, there will be no availability of oxygen. The person may die. To save the person in those conditions, when a heart stops suddenly, when the breathing is interrupted, to save the life of that person, our hemoglobin always keeps some amount of oxygen in reserve. Okay, that's all. Okay, when you if the tissues such as skeletal muscles are involved in vigorous exercise, there is more unloading tension in the oxyhemoglobin, and so more oxygen is given away up to. Okay, when you do rigorous exercise, your tissues are giving your Oxyhemoglobin given 62% at the 20 mmHg of PCO2. The percentage saturation of hemoglobin is only if you add these two, 62 and 35, what is the total? 97. That means when you do exercise, your oxyhemoglobin, it delivers more oxygen too. How much it is delivering to your tissue? 62%. It is keeping 35%. Okay, this is the difference between lower curve. When do we get lower curve? When do we get upper curve? What lower curve explains the Bohr effect and upper explains the Haldane effect. Okay, these are the various factors I have explained. These all. Okay, okay. You have to note down these points. Very, very, very important points. Note down in a notebook. Okay, that's the end of this video.